Hi, this is William Ramsey. Welcome to William Ramsey Investigates. On today's show, I will be playing episode 19 of my series Bioweapon Blues. And there's just tons of more information coming out. But the title of this, I titled it, The Global Gaslighting Continues. They're acting like nothing's happening when hundreds of thousands of people are being killed and millions injured. And they're moving forward with new shots for kids and things like that. But I'll play some film, I'll play some video, and then some slides, some remarkable Fauci stuff as well. There was a hearing yesterday in the senator's offices, or the Senate, I think it was Senator Johnson. It's a lot of the kind of non-big pharma doctors and people like that talking about how serious the problem is and why the shot should stop immediately. So they should be stopped immediately. There should be arrests. There should be a full criminal investigation into these people to put them in jail, to keep them from harming other people, and to set a precedent that this kind of murders, whether intentional or negligent, don't happen again. So I'm going to play this.
Challenge that I think many of us are going to have to come head to head with, which is, are you capable of caring for somebody who yelled at you to put your mask on, who refused to let you come to a family reunion because you didn't take the kill shot? Are you willing to love the person who actually made your life during the last 2 or 3 years a living hell? And I'll tell you, that's going to take some deep introspection, some really, really massive amounts of grace and mercy. And I am not sure that most of us are prepared for what we're going to have to face. And I want you to hear the words I just said. On the best case, we're talking about permanent death and disability to 300 million people. That is the best case. That is the entire population of the United States distributed across the world. That is the number we're talking about. And that's the best case.
Paying attention recently, and you'll have noticed the term myocarditis.
This is from Parliament in Australia.
And died suddenly has featured quite a lot. Now, we know that myocarditis and pericarditis are two heart inflammation conditions well associated with the COVID mRNA injections. Even the Therapeutic Goods Association admits that. Yet, despite this well-established fact, the injections were mandated to thousands of Australians. And speaking out about these incursions on freedom, got one labelled an anti-vaxxer or a peddler of dangerous misinformation. Now, I've obtained data through Freedom of Information from SA Health in South Australia regarding the number of cardiac presentations per month in South Australian public hospitals since 2018. The data reveals that cardiac-related presentations for 15 to 44-year-olds remain steady at 1,100 per month from January 2018, but drastically spiked in July 2021 through November 2021, peaking at 2,172 per month. Just as these injections were rolled out, they almost doubled. Then there was another spike in February of this year, right around the time when the boosters were being mandated. These injections are harming and in many instances killing our young people. So what does SA Health have to say about this? Nothing. They continue to roll out the injections. They continue to push the injection narrative. This injection campaign is going to go down as the greatest scandal in medical history. None of you said a single thing.
Steve LaTulip, Dr. Steve LaTulip, for the love of humanity, for the safety of humanity, stop the shots.
I'm Dr. Avery Brinkley. Stop the shots.
I'm Dr. Nilu. The VAERS data speaks for itself. Please stop the shots.
I'm Dr. Sigaloff. Stop the shots.
I'm Dr. Robert Lowry. Stop the shots.
I'm Dr. Moon. Safety signals have been alarming like crazy. These products have not been safe for many patients. Many physicians are fighting this, and we need your help. In the meantime, we need to stop these shots.
I am Dr. Molly Rutherford. Stop the shots.
I'm Dr. Calvin Blunt. Stop the shot.
I'm Dr. Terry Lincoln. Stop the shots.
I am Dr. Claire Zingerling.
Stop the shot.
Sorry, sister. Our body is our temple. Stop the shots.
Hello, this is Dr. John Witcher, MD from Mississippi. It is time to stop these poison shots, period.
Chris Allen Shoemaker from Toronto, Canada. I'm here with my little dog, Charlie. He's resting at the side of the road with me. And we've just finished watching our fellow doctors telling everyone how they must stop the shots. Please listen to them. These doctors care about you. They're smart. They've been watching all the data. They know that these vaccines are toxic and dangerous. They know that they have absolutely no effect against COVID. In fact, they make it easier for you to get COVID. Please listen to them. They care about you. The administrators, the bureaucrats, they don't give a shit about you. They're just pushing an agenda. We doctors sincerely are hoping you will become awake about this. Look at the science. From Dr. Alexander, from Dr. Seneff, from Dr. Geert Vandenbosch, from Dr. Byram Lytle. These people know the truth. Look up those names, listen to those names. They are the scientists who are telling you the truth.
Coup d'etat. Again.
This is Cardinal Maria Vigano. He understands the New World Order.
Which it is essential that people rise up and that the still healthy organ of state start an international juridical process. The threat is imminent and serious. Since the World Economic Forum is capable of carrying out its subversive project, and those who govern nations have all become either enslaved or blackmailed by this international mafia. In the light of these statements, it's a global coup d'etat against which it is essential that people...
The tech companies are trying to, before Musk on Twitter was, they're trying to use massive power, massive ability to shape the narrative to enforce orthodoxy and to marginalize dissenting views. And so the orthodoxy they want is not your values or my values. I can tell you that right now. And so you know and you see it. And so this was one thing, and they're talking about Hunter Biden, but there's 100 other examples that they're going to be able to show, and how they marginalized people that were speaking the truth on COVID was really, really damaging. And it ended up killing people because people would tell the truth and they would get deplatformed on Twitter. We're also going to be doing some stuff because I have a Surgeon General in Florida, Dr. Joseph who's been really, really strong of just fighting back against the narrative and the phony things that people are trying to do and focus on the evidence. And so, we are going to work to hold these manufacturers accountable for this mRNA, because they said there was no side effects, and we know that there have been a lot. And so we did a study in Florida, and you saw an 86% increase in cardiac related activity from people 18 to 39 from mRNA shots. And so we're going to be doing some stuff to bring accountability there, because I think it's just something where we wouldn't let them mandate on you in Florida. We said, no, because like Orange County wanted to fire firefighters, Gainesville wanted to fire people, but even the corporations like Disney wanted to fire. So we said no across the board. So everybody had the ability to opt out of anything they were trying to impose on you. But there are other people around the country that got forced to take this. And then what? They're not allowed to sue or get any type of recourse when this is not something that they wanted to do. So this is something that we're going to lead on in Florida. So we're going to have probably some announcements over the next 3 or 4 weeks on that.
This is a video I showed 1 or 2 episodes ago of a guy in Japan. His name is Kyoto Professor. What is his name? It's Fukushima. But I'll try to talk over him talking. But I think it's important just to see kind of what's happening in other countries as well. Very similar to here. Other doctors are standing up, other academics, professors. But this guy's really passionate. So he's saying, I'm telling you, no doc make a medical diagnosis. I'm saying that you must look at the medical records. There's no question about it. Stop the shots and the science. Looks like you're trying to destroy evidence. Do the right thing or you're just going to have a criminal lawsuit. Enough is enough. Enough. I don't care what you say. No one could convince you. We will not only this is talking to the Ministry of Health. Said you can't possibly have any way to evaluate it. Clinically speaking, is that you need to look at the medical records properly. People's lives are at stake. You idiot. You have so many people here. Lawmakers also all came the way here. You can't repeat this kind of thing. You should have started from the beginning with a proper scientific light. So immediately disband the ridiculous vaccine causality evaluation committee. Set up an investigation committee to investigate all cases. You need to get proper statisticians, some decent experts. You understand? Do some tests and investigations. Consider the process of the spiked protein. People are already doing research all around the world. Japan's prestige is at stake. You vaccinated so many people, and yet only 10% of the labor of health has done it. What effing joke is that? You need to clarify this immediately. Investigate all the cases. You must identify all deaths and unreported deaths in the investigation. Thousands and tens of thousands of lives are at stake. You don't have any idea of the long-term side effects of this vaccine. The nanoparticles taken into the body in large quantity. People are still sick, still in bad physical condition. Suddenly people's blood dies. People get eczema. When we diagnose, we find spike protein. And the diagnosis is moving to the next phase. You must stop vaccinating immediately and take care of the health of all cases. That's what this paper says. You don't have a proper understanding of the cutting edge of science. The media puts them on TV. The same idiots are always promoting vaccines. It's ridiculous. It's super foolish. I didn't come here with the process or BS things that you were explaining. I'm here today to correct things properly. That's why I'm here.
Knowledge and what I was able to study and learn and see along the way. But this death tsunami that I've been talking about for the last 2 years, it's arriving right now. 1 in 73 people in the UK that got the shot early on in 2020 is dead by the US government data. In the UK, they're losing about 1,000 people a week. We have over 900 professional athletes now that have died. What's worse than death? I'm telling you that they are mixing these up all the time. And because think about this for a minute. When all these shots first started, say AstraZeneca at the beginning of 21, we saw lots and lots and lots of people with anaphylactic shock. They actually even wanted to put crash carts in the vaccination centers. We don't see that so much anymore. Well, do people get intolerance to it? No, they had to have changed the recipe.
Yeah, they're changing the recipe on these shots. That's incredible. It's an incredible fact. They're doing an experiment within an experiment. It's incredible. The shots have to stop immediately.
They had to deleted something, added something, changed the ratio, something like that. We saw all these people early on with these magnetic charges, right? Hundreds of Instagram pictures and things like that of people putting keys and all these different things that were hanging against their head. Either they're not doing it anymore, it's not novel, so people aren't taking those pictures anymore, or they changed the recipe because the graphene oxide, when it's exposed to hydrogen, I have 2 medical textbooks and dozens of articles about this for any of you scammer people out there who happen to be listening. I've got the documentation of how graphene oxide in the presence of hydrogen takes on a magnetic charge. It's real from the science. Did they change the ratio? Did they change something so that doesn't happen as much? So I just really believe that we're going to continue to find all kinds of miscellaneous stuff in these shots. They found a way to slow kill people with this. And remember, they want 3.5 billion people off the planet, and they learned how to do it slow kill. So most unsuspecting people don't connect the dots. So is it on the market yet? I'm not sure, but I think anybody who's listening to this, should never, ever, ever take another shot of any kind ever again under any circumstance. Questions on this topic. So the first one is from Joni in Minnesota, who asks, how are we going to combat misinformation, specifically regarding vaccinations in a country where after 1 million plus and counting deaths from COVID-19, still a third of the country refuses to be vaccinated or follow suggested protocols?
Yeah, Joni, a good question. I have always said, and I still feel this way, apropos of the response I gave to how you counter it, is to me the best way to counter the dissemination of misinformation and disinformation is to get people with correct information to flood the system with correct information. We've got...
See, Fauci, this little demon from hell, he knows all this stuff about information, disinformation, flooding the system. This is kind of a revealing aspect of him. They know that they're conducting kind of an information war. Not kind of an information. They are conducting an information war with deaths and disabilities, casualties. This is a monster. He already should have been arrested.
Out there, people who you would trust, who are trusted messengers, to get out there and put the truth out. It just seems to me, I didn't do a study on it, but from what I'm seeing from my experience is that the people who are spreading misinformation and disinformation seem to be relentless in their pursuit of spreading misinformation, whereas those who have correct information that would be beneficial to society just don't spend all their time spreading misinformation and disinformation. It's almost as if we're outgunned by the people who are spreading disinformation. So the only thing I could say is to encourage all of us to not be shy about talking about the correct science-based and evidence-based information.
The evidence and science-based information tells you this shot is dangerous. We're going to go into the V-Safe data again, Walensky's data. They should have stopped it right immediately. They knew the information back in 2021. So this guy's just a total liar. Totally should have been arrested. The DOJ's a joke.
Fauci now all of a sudden has a case of amnesia. During those last...
yeah, he was deposed. I think it was at the end. When was it? End of November. So the deposition has been publicized, so you can read through the whole thing. He couldn't remember some of these important people. I think he just sent Ralph Barrick money or Dazik money before he's gone. I think he's gone by the new year, which is good. But yeah, Fauci's lying. My
position, he's telling everyone that, well, I can't, I don't really know this Dr. Ralph Barrick guy. I don't know if they got a Dr. Dassick, but I mean, do you know how ridiculous it is that the leader at NIAID, the guy who funds all the gain of function work, doesn't know who their best world famous virologist is, and he can't remember who he is? I mean, this is the insanity of what we're dealing with. And, we're really dealing with a big problem in our country. It's the uniparty. Everything the U.S. government tells us in early January 2020 is a lie. Anthony Fauci now all of a sudden...
They're not perfect, which Dr. Fauci had a tough time doing.
Is there a moment of your career that you wish you could do over?
Yasmin, no. And I know people are going to respond to that. Who say, well, what does he think? He's perfect? Absolutely. I'm the first to admit I'm far from perfect. But when you say do over, I really can't see something that I would do. He's perfect. Absolutely. I'm the first to admit I'm far from perfect. But when you say do over,
he's a sociopath.
Done wrong in your life and you pause for about 40 seconds and scratch your chin.
This is a kid just getting tortured. His probably life is never the same after this. I think they've proven conclusively that kids who've gotten the entire kill, murder, shot schedule are much sicker than kids who are unvaccinated. They don't want that fact to come out either. Oh, big kiss. Oh, we love you. No.
Reporting those in real cancer signals, that's up to the CDC to be up to date and reporting those in real time. You know, you and I are hearing these signals of all sorts of things as we go to meetings from colleagues. I'm hearing from oncologists, interventional radiologists, left and right, of seeing these things in 20, 30, 40-year-olds, and they're alarmed. They're like, we're seeing it. I got a call from an OB, I won't say in which state, because she is, a tall-bladed breast, but she said, is there a better system than Bears? Because I am seeing leiomyosarcomas in the vaginal tract and in the uterus at rates I have never seen in my career. Yeah. And she's in a state that's highly jab. So these are all signals. We need to do the science. I'm a voice for scientific observation. Like I said, you can criticize me, that's fine. Bring better data, but do the science. So if we jump onto there we go. So it's in the brain tissue. Dr. Drew had a great question. Is it in the gray matter? Is it the white matter? Where in the brain? Wherever the lipid nanoparticle distributes, and it does get through the blood-brain barrier, and we know S1, the spike gets through as well. So it'll follow the small capillaries and leak into whatever tissue it wants to. Okay, next slide, please. Now, this is the aorta. This is something that's unusual. Usually you'll see this in genetic conditions where the aorta ruptures. And you can see on the top, that's the autopsy tissue. On the bottom, all those dots, that's inflammation. On the right, that's spike protein, literally causing the lymphocytes to chew a hole in the aorta. This is the biggest blood vessel in your body coming off your heart. When that ruptures, you're gone in minutes. So that's just another example of what deposited spike protein and the induced inflammation can do.
Yeah, and that's Vigilant Fox. Check it out. And this guy shows how they are gaming the system and gaming the facts and stuff like that. These death reports, it's incredible. It's just everything's messed up.
Cranial hemorrhage. Diane was 62 years old. She had a stroke, acute intracranial hemorrhage with thrombocytopenia that happened in days after the vaccine. There's somebody else just after her that died. Brianna, this is a 30-year-old woman, high school teacher. She gets a vaccine, gets a headache, goes to the hospital. They send her home. You have a migraine, go home. It's so bad, she goes to the ER again. They send her home. She doesn't recognize her sister. They bring her in and they cut a hole in her head to relieve the pressure. Massive stroke, paralysis, brain dead within a couple of days. So onset of symptoms almost immediately, cut down in the prime of her life. I feel terrible for the family. So if they had just checked out Diane, right, they would have known they shouldn't give the shot to Brianna. It was 12 days later. The next one is Eden. She was 17 years old. If you read the Bears report history, it's the same person. It's the same age, date of death. It's 17 years old. It's really not hard to find this one. Cerebral venous sinus thrombosis. She had a headache really bad, and they delayed the second dose because her headache was so bad. It was so bad she went to her primary care physician twice. But then when it resolved, she got her second vaccine, and she died of a stroke at 17 years old. If they had investigated Brianna, which was very obviously a vaccine death, and Diane, which was very obviously a vaccine death, the 17-year-old girl would be alive today. And it goes on, and the 7-year-old Cassidy that prompted me to get the death certificates because I didn't believe, somebody would die like that from COVID. The prior vax was severe nausea and vomiting 5 minutes post-vaccination.
Right. So they're writing on there. You can see the coding in red. Complications of COVID, coronavirus 19. So they're dying after the shot, but are being classified as COVID deaths. Wow. Where's the DOJ? Where's the FBI? Your government doesn't represent you.
And for the next 8 to 10 hours. So she spiked it. This is the second vax now. She spiked 103 fever, severe stomach ache, didn't have a bowel movement since the day before, so it's 3 days. Now, if you read the death certificate in pink there, the immediate cause of death, the major one they list first, complications of coronavirus 19 viral infection. They said she died from COVID. She reacted within 5 minutes. Then they give her a second one. She gets a stomach ache immediately. In January of 2021, I said, this isn't going to end until everybody knows somebody.
I hope you understand that. I hope you understand what they're doing.
A pregnant family member emphatically sign up for this experimental while she's pregnant. She had a full-term pregnancy, baby was born. The family knew there was something off and wrong, but you kind of have to let parents come to that conclusion on their own. She realized and took him in. He had an MRI. He has had major in utero strokes, brain damage, visual issues, and is going to be handicapped for the rest of his life. And so this is just another shout out that we need to keep these stories going, that this thing is not safe. It is not safe. It isn't safe for pregnant people. It isn't safe for healthy people. It isn't safe for sick people. It is not safe. Okay, period. End of story. We're done.
They're continuing to gaslight people. Here's another monster. He looks like he's drugged out like a mannequin here. It's so weird. He obviously shut everything down during that convoy and went after people's bank accounts and tried to really forcibly inject them with the kill shot.
Canada is a place of free expression, where individuals and communities are free to express themselves openly and strongly.
No, it's not.
And we thank them for sharing their perspectives. Merci beaucoup. Merci d'être ici. Being a democracy doesn't mean we all agree. It means we all work together, we all listen to each other, we all respect each other, and that's how we move forward on doing the most important thing in front of us, which is protecting nature.
Yeah, it's hard for me to watch that.
How many people here, and I'm gonna ask you to do something you have to think on.
This is in British Columbia. Somebody's asking, with a sign behind her, vaccine hesitancy could save your life. You're right. Watch this crowd.
If you know one person, then you just put one hand up. If you know more than one, put two hands up. Keep them up. We
Almost everybody has their hand up.
send a very clear message to Bonnie Henry.
The injuries are all over the place. They cannot let the populace come together and form a formation of people who've all been injured and actually have accurate statistics. It'll overthrow the governments. This is a video of a recent guy, soccer player, doing the standard, kind of like my chest hurts.
Parecía que estaba en Siberia, Pandeta. Está todo tapado, no hay calefacción ahí en la cabina, ¿viste? Y evidentemente no debe estar funcionando, pues parecía que estaba en Siberia, Pandeta. Está todo tapado, no hay calefacción.
They always look the same. Here's another one, flopper. Worked out. She probably had clinical myocarditis. So she didn't know that her heart was damaged. Just a flop. Like they don't, oh, I gotta go sit down. They just collapse. This is another one of those strange deaths. Like they look around like they see something. I don't know what's going on.
Right, seu app de vídeos curtos.
So those are my videos for that. I also have just this thing. I kind of showed this before. I think it's one of the most remarkable pieces of information during the entire COVID event. And it is a document that Fauci actually published. It's titled COVID-19 Navigating the Uncharted. Fauci, Redfield, if you remember Redfield, kind of had a beard. He was up on stage with Trump a lot. This is March 26, 2020, in the New England Journal of Medicine. So very prestigious medical journal, maybe the most prestigious. And he says some very interesting things in this that are not similar to what he did publicly. And I'll show this. I mean, it's not funny. But he writes in this is something he put his name on. So he said he's talking about what's happening in China, but he says, nonetheless, a degree of clarity is emerging from this report. So he's getting clarity on what's going on with this disease. And he says, of note, there were no cases in children younger than 15 years of age. So he notes that there are no cases of this virus in somebody under 15. And he said in other shows, I've put them in this series, and I have to go back and find the exact one, but he said 1,500 children died. That's why we have to vaccinate them. So he has contradicted his own writings in his statements. Very important. So he acknowledges either children are less likely to become infected, which would have important epidemiologic implications. Of course it would. Or the symptoms are so mild that their infection is safe detection, which is implications the size of a denominator of total community infections. But he says, puts this in writing. It's really incredible. And it's if one assumes that the number of asymptomatic or minimally symptomatic cases is several times as high as the number of reported cases, the case fatality rate may be considerably less than 1%. This suggests that the overall clinical consequences of COVID-19 may ultimately be more akin to those of a severe seasonal influenza, with a case fatality rate of 0.1%. So he's kind of acknowledged that it's not that severe, that there's a possibility that it's not that severe. And he put that in writing in March 2020. The whole country was shut down forever and people lost their businesses. And also what's important about this for anybody doing research about Fauci is that he had to sign on in a document on the back of that one that it's the ICMJE, the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, form for disclosure of potential conflicts of interest. And he basically says he has no relevant conflicts of interest. He signs these patents and copyrights were considered publication, financial activities outside the submitted work. So he admits he's the corresponding author, puts all this stuff in. And my understanding is that that is not the case, that he may have other conflicts of interest that would contradict what he wrote in these things. He check marks here. No other relationships, conditions, circumstances that present a potential conflict of interest. Dr. Fauci has nothing to disclose. Pretty incredible. And I'm going to talk to somebody tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time. And if you're watching this or checking this out, come listen to live. This guy's very knowledgeable. He's just published a book, the COVID-19 Book of Lists, Heroes and Villains. It's Reed Sheftal and Michael Yeadon. And he's going to just stream. He has a bunch of slides, so he's going to share those and really kind of go over. And I think he proves conclusively that the COVID-19 take-up ended in early 2021. I repeat, he's going to show tomorrow that the COVID-19, what we know as this pandemic, actually ended in its uptake in 2021. So there's no need for any shots or vaccines. Like, it's just all preposterous anti-science baloney. So come check this out tomorrow. Reed Sheftal. But those are just incredible statements by Fauci, that people who, just for historical purposes, this is a massive historical event, and for historical purposes to put those together, very important. And this is another, I always call her a witch or just evil monster. She's a monster. She knows the information. Like, we're going to go over this. I will go over the Be Safe data. Maybe I should just go over it now, because it's really important to understand that she had the data of these injuries and they had to sue for it. So I'll put this out. So this is the person who actually sued her for the information. His name is Aaron Siri. He was in the Johnson, meeting yesterday in D.C. He was a chair member or on a chair talking. They didn't have enough time to talk all the information that they've got. But this is the data that he sued to get. So it says after 464 days, the CDC, headed by Walensky, coughed up COVID-19 vaccine safety data showing 7.7% of people reported needing medical care. It's huge. It should stop the rollout right away. So that's her V-Safe data, and this weird dancing guy. And those 7.7%, 70% of those sought outpatient urgent clinical care, emergency room care, or were hospitalized. Those are huge damages. The data submitted was 10 million V-Safe users. So that's out of 10 million people. That's 700,000 people. It's incredible. So I would check out Aaron Siri, Injecting Freedom. I'll put this in the show notes. You can read through the whole thing. But this is evidence the CDC purposely did not include check-the-box selections for myocarditis, pericarditis, seizure, stroke, and other known potential serious harms of V-Safe. So they only put stuff they wanted a response to. They didn't put the stuff that people would want to really know. And he writes, the second part of an incredible story that shows how broken our public health apparatus is. Very, very broken indeed. So V-Safe is a smartphone-based program rolled out by the CDC alongside the first authorized COVID-19 vaccine in December 2020. And both the FDA and CDC love to make claims based on V-Safe, concluding that COVID-19 vaccines are monitored by the most intense safety monitoring efforts in U.S. history. Yeah, right. So they explain V-Safe, but that's what it looks like. So if you actually wanted to put your information in there, that would be it. As you can see, V-Safe only collected certain limited pre-selected information in a systematic fashion. For the first 7 days after a shot, it asked users to check one or more of the following. So that's it. How did the CDC decide to ask for only the above information? Very good question. Evidence of premeditation. So check that out. Check out Aaron Siri. Like I said, I'll put his stuff in the show notes. He's done a lot of the lawsuits. He's worked with Robert F. Kennedy, Children's Health Defense, I think it is. So he's challenging any state's COVID-19 vaccine requirement to attend school. Thank God for you. Thank God. So, very important. Highly recommend people check that out. Let's go back to the slides. So that's Rochelle Walensky. That's what she oversaw as the CDC. She knows of the injuries from 2021. She knew of the injuries from 2021. She knew probably right around the time she made this tweet, which said there's only 30 to 40 mild cases of myocarditis. Now, I'm not a doctor. I know that there's no such thing as a mild case of myocarditis. It's like saying that you had a mild, hand cut off or something. Like myocarditis means your heart isn't working and you're going to die in 5 years. There's a 50% chance you're going to die. Benefits far outweigh the risk. No, it's over. No, get out of here. This is also another incredible thing she wrote in November 29th, knowing all the data from V-Safe, which I just went over. She knows she's talking about another tragedy, the Tuskegee syphilis study, which tells you about what these people are capable of because the CDC did it. It's my understanding. But they honor 623 African-American men. They're suffering and sacrifice. I don't know how that's sacrifice, but you just oversaw the suffering of hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. You witch, you demonic witch. You'll never live this down. Monster. This is her. She's just play acting. Hell is empty. The devils are all here. She's one of them. She's going to go down in history as just like alongside Nazi doctors. Because once he thinks there's somebody's talking about this Vegas and Obama, a woman who's probably never going to be able to have a child. I'm sorry to hear that. That's going to be much more common. Totally sterilized women. And wait till those women howl and cry forever. They're never going to have a child or a family. And their husbands have to listen to that too, or their loved ones. Or they may not even be able to have husbands, honestly, if you're sterile. I mean, if a man wants to have a family too. So this is a disaster. This is a massive, catastrophic disaster. The only reason it's not as understood by the larger population is by this global gaslighting that's taking place, and also this demonic media, who's really culpable, in my opinion, ethically culpable for sure, for not telling stories like the stories I've been telling you. Like, don't have that great of resources, but they're ongoing. Like this guy Colbert, he's garbage too. They're all garbage. It's a garbage person. How does anybody watch that? Who are these people? It's so strange. So this is the statement by Vegano. Again, I showed him in the videos he was talking. So he also put out something. He talks about world government and stuff like that. I'll read this. Appeal for the church and the world. That's St. Michael there. To Catholics and all people of goodwill. In this time of great crisis, we pastors of the Catholic Church, by virtue of our mandate, consider it our sacred duty to make an appeal to our brothers in the episcopate, to the clergy, to religious, to the holy people of God, and to all men and women of goodwill. This appeal has also been undersigned by intellectuals, doctors, lawyers, journalists, and professionals who agree with its content and may be undersigned by those who wish to make it their own. The facts have shown that, under the pretext of the COVID-19 epidemic, the inalienable rights of citizens have in many cases been violated, and their fundamental freedoms, including the exercise of freedom of worship, expression, and movement, have been disproportionately and unjustifiably restricted. Public health must not and cannot become an alibi for infringing on the rights of millions of people around the world, let alone for depriving the civil authority of its duty to act wisely for the common good. This is particularly true as growing doubts emerge from several quarters about the actual contagiousness, danger, and resistance of the virus. Many authoritative just got kicked out. Let me see if this is on. Seems to be on. I might just end this and get off of YouTube. I'll stream this onto Rockfin. If everybody can go over to Rockfin and check it out. Rockfin, William Ramsey Investigates. You can check it out and watch the rest of it live there. So it'll just take a second. Let's see. Remove. Delete. End this and get up. So again, let's go back to this. We have reason to believe, on the basis of official data on the incidence of the epidemic as related to the number of deaths, that there are powers interested in creating panic upon the world's population with the sole aim of permanently imposing unacceptable forms of restriction on freedoms, of controlling people and tracking their movements. The imposition of these illiberal measures is a disturbing prelude to the realization of a world government beyond all control. So that was the statement there. Let's see. And then this is lockdowns were the greatest public health mistake in history. So this is evidence of people dying from other side effects, alcohol, drugs, and suicide. Off the charts, like another 100,000. So those are probably deaths that will never be analyzed by the CDC. The witch at the CDC, Walensky, total monster, total child of hell. Son of Cain, like level monster. And who was it? Crawford was the guy I've been studying, kind of fourth generational warfare. He talks about that. for fifth generation warfare, which is like a different characteristic of things. Like the fourth generation talks about different tactics in warfare. So it's complex, long-term terrorism, non-national, transnational base, a direct attack on enemy's culture, including genocidal acts against civilians. All available pressures are used: political, economic, social, and military. Occurs in low-intensity conflict. Non-combatants are tactical dilemmas: lack of hierarchy, small in size, spread out network of communication and financial support, decentralized forces. So that's what you're seeing. I think that really you're seeing a fourth or fifth generation type of warfare situation. And this was fifth generation, described as conducted primarily through non-kinetic military actions such as social engineering, misinformation, cyber attacks, along with emerging technologies such as artificial intelligence and fully autonomous systems. So I think you're seeing some of that for sure, social engineering and misinformation in this whole COVID warfare layout of mass murder, really. So just something to be aware of. And you can check out his work. He has a Campfire Wiki, Operation Uplift, where he's posted a lot of these things. Let's see if I can see that. Here it is. There's a screenshot and just some of his work you can see. Delivering away vaccine safety signals, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's done a lot of work on there. And really is ahead of the curve. Matthew Crawford. And there's just more like problems. There's just so many. Why doesn't the CDC perform or arrange to perform autopsies? Why does the CDC fact checkers claim myocarditis does not cause deaths if they do not even autopsy vaccine? This is your tax dollars work. I think the CDC is paid for. What caused the other 80% deaths? It's a disaster. This is a catastrophe. You have a total loser in office too under Biden, like just a total monster, like useless. So is Harris. Harris is a joke. CDC lied about vaccine myocarditis being mild. German study proves 20% of sudden deaths caused by myocarditis. Wow. That's Igor Chudov, December 2nd. And he says this gaslighting became an art form for COVID vaccine advocates, with fact checkers and social networks suppressing any discussion, right? He's good use of the word gaslighting. And this is from Mary. She writes, remdesivir murder cases are now being accepted by prosecutors. Take action now. If you have a loved one who died, take action. Find out who's prosecuting these people. And you can go to charleswright1.substack.com and check that out. If you know somebody who got one of these kill protocols, I know two people, Don Jeffries and Alex Stein, both had family members murdered by, I think, the hand of Fauci. I think he was the one advocating. He was in the White House at one point saying, Mr. President, I have a great drug we have called remdesivir. And they knew it was 50, like some crazy number of people died using that pill. It's also very expensive, unlike hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin, what they lied about. This is Paul Alexander. I talk about all the time. I follow him. December 2nd. Hang them high. Canadian doctor says officials should be jailed for the big kill caused by COVID jab restriction. Child sacrifice didn't work for the Aztecs. He's 100% correct. Hang them high. This is how you fight war. Hodgkinson knows it. Real man with stones of steel. I've had Hodgkinson on his videos. And this is in Jab Injuries USA. You can check that out. There's many stories going in there as well. Since Died Suddenly is on its third or fourth iteration on Facebook, which is a mistake to just be on Facebook in general. Mark Zuckerberg is culpable ethically, as far as I'm concerned, for these deaths and murders. Rand Paul, Fauci caused 7 million people to die. We've caught him red-handed. He won't get away. It's from December 2nd, 2022. Senator Rand Paul asserted Thursday that Anthony Fauci is directly responsible for funding dangerous research that likely killed millions of people and that he won't get away. This is another one. You have to look into Sasha Latypova, Latypova. I think you can see some interviews with her, but she went through a lot of the documents. I've mentioned her before, but her is that this shot rollout is done by the American Department of Defense. It's incredible. Like how culpable they are, I don't even know, but why is that happening? So there's just a lot of information. This is Robert Malone. He's apparently suing some people about this, but he wrote, I think, if this is correct, from June 21st, 2021. Once again, I feel it necessary to make a clear and unambiguous statement. The data strongly indicate that the experimental genetic vaccines, including the mRNA and recombinant adenoviral vaccines, have saved lives, many lives. Well, not to this point. Calling COVID jabs experimental is a psyop. That's from James Hill. Assumptions like the injections are an experiment and the virus leaked from a lab give cover to killers. So it's probably not experimental. Like they experimented on other people. They know what it's doing if it's intentional. Experiments testing effects of any classified weapon system are always performed just in secret. It means pathogenic effects of the COVID spike protein in mammals, including non-human primates and quite possibly humans, were well determined before the jabs launched. Don't assume because CNN and MSNBC didn't tell you about it, it didn't happen. In other words, the perpetrators have done the experiments and know what to expect. It's incredible. It's an incredible statement. They lied about everything. There's nothing that's honest about this. Everything they said was fake. This is kind of one of the heroes of the story. There's not many heroes, but the anti-vaxxer nurse who injected up to 8,600 elderly patients with salt water instead of COVID, quote, vaccine, unquote, box free from court in Germany. It's from December 1st. This is Vince Clements. He writes, part 1 of 2, the Vigi Access, the WHO global database for adverse events. This is for COVID-19 vaccines. Official deaths and injuries are pushing 5 million. In reality, much higher. Look at the age group in the large unknown category used to hide sensitive data, perhaps babies. This is Peter McCullough, miraculous recovery of hypozemic COVID-19 patients with ivermectin, unhooking spike hemagglutinated red blood cells. Yeah, so ivermectin. This is just kind of going back to Event 21, excuse me. This is Murray, a, quote, hypothetical pre-pandemic exercise, unquote, hosted by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, World Economic Forum, and Johns Hopkins on October 18th, 2019. Wasn't a lucky coincidence. It was a dry run. It has all their names on there. It was at the Pierre Hotel in New York, New York. Just to read through this, just so people know, this is one. There's some other ones people have mentioned, but this is kind of the primary one people know. And it's Event 201 was a 3.5-hour pandemic tabletop exercise that simulated a series of dramatic scenario-based facilitated discussions confronting difficult true-to-life dilemmas associated with response to a hypothetical but scientifically plausible pandemic. 15 global business, government, and public health leaders were players in the simulation exercise that highlighted unresolved real-world policy and economic issues that could be solved with sufficient political will, financial investment, and attention now and in the future. And this is Vince again. Confidential Pfizer documents and new study confirm COVID vaccine shedding has been occurring with shocking and dangerous consequences. That's from November 30th. And this is Masanori Fukushima. That's the guy who I mentioned, the Japanese professor. This is his full name and biography. He was saying, stop the shots, do a proper investigation. This is another article. Question for public health. If COVID vaccine is as safe and effective as claimed, how come excess mortality is no lower since the campaign was established compared to the same period the year before? And how come there's relatively more death with the two states with higher rates? This is a sign out that Liz put out. And interesting, these are appearing everywhere. It makes me both sad and angry, and that's learn the sign of stroke. FAST, face, arm, speech time. It's from November 27th. This is somebody writing about, I think it's the Fauci deposition. The Missouri, her name is Janine Younes, Younes. The Missouri documents, along with some obtained through discovery in Berenson v. Twitter and an FOIA request by America First Legal, expose the extent of the administration's appropriation of big tech to effect a vast and unprecedented regime of viewpoint-based censorship on the information that most Americans see, hear, and otherwise consume. At least 11 federal agencies and around 80 government officials have been explicitly directing social media companies to take down posts and remove certain accounts that violate the government's own preferences and guidelines for coverage on topics ranging from COVID restrictions to the 2020 election to the Hunter Biden laptop scandal. That's probably why my two other YouTube channels got vaporized. They're gone. I don't even know where they are. Oh, yeah, it's incredible. Philip. So Fauci claimed under oath at his censorship deposition that he hasn't time to worry about things like the Great Barrington Declaration. Did he lie under oath? Because in an email from 2020 to Birx, he says, I've come out very strongly publicly against the Great Barrington Declaration. And this is Michelle from November 29th, shared from First Responder, God help us. Tim Houston, Robert Strang, your poor excuses for humans. I don't know how you sleep at night. Nova Scotia. This story just went to a provincial House member, said, thank you for telling us. 8 a.m., wake up, we need help from us. This will likely get my hand slapped. There were well over 800 ambulance calls in 23 hours when I left work at 11 p.m. last night. There were 9 waiting calls in the valley alone with no ambulances to respond. There were still ongoing calls when I left, probably a dozen with no ambulances. I left work with my stomach in knots, knowing that if my family or friends needed medical attention, they would not get it. To top all this off, a 911 call right here in our beautiful valley came in at 8:35 a.m. When I left at 11 p.m. last night, they still did not have an ambulance. I don't know what time they got one, even if they did. Over 14 hours and we still could not get to a resident of the Annapolis Valley. There were several calls that were waiting 4, 6, 10 plus hours. When is Tim Houston going to do something? When his family is waiting for 14 hours to arrive, hiring 100 transport operators has helped slightly, but it's a drop in the bucket. Paramedics are quitting every single day or going off work with mental health issues because nobody's stepping up. I just don't know how much longer I can go to work knowing people are suffering. It's killing my conscience to the core. I'm sure this post will make people talk for 5 minutes and then everyone will forget about it, like the last 3 years. You are all in danger and nobody gives a crap. And there's actually job postings in Canada for body removal services, actually. I think it's either in this series or the next one. This is just a repeat. CDC reportedly knew about COVID-19 jab-associated myocarditis and left it off post-vax surveys. They left it off the V-Safe data. Monsters. Immediate vaccination moratorium demanded in Austria. Yes, smart. Bill Clinton has COVID. He's grateful to be vaccinated and boosted. November 30th, 2022. The FDA with more. Their attempt at memeing. November 28th. Update your antibodies and get boosted today. Well, that's not what the evidence is showing. My data is that the antibodies actually get denuded with every shot you take. This is total monster. Trudeau. Ryan writes, the very same evening Trudeau was wearing those nightmare mouth window masks, he now stands with a group without it. His plebes stand huddled in the corner to the right with them still on. The endless mask theater is exhausting. November 30th, 2022. This tells you everything about your government. These are 2 releases by different parts of the government that aren't in communication because Kamala Harris writes, get 1 shot once a year. This is November 28th. Harris writes, 1 shot once a year. That's all most people will need to stay protected from COVID a year long. Make a plan to get your shot. So she says that. And then Becerra says, an updated COVID vaccine can help protect you from the worst outcomes of COVID. If it's been over 2 months since your last dose, make a plan to get one now. There it is again. That's November 29th. And then this other monster. I mean, they're gaslighting you. They're saying the same thing over and over again. This is latest COVID vaccine will help people move on from the pandemic. White House's jaw says November 27th, 2022. This is from April 2020, Monash University. Lab experiments show antiparasitic drug ivermectin eliminates SARS-CoV-2 in cells in 48 hours. There's a joke. Trudeau. This is somebody who's been sick. His name is Sierra. So Powell made mention of long COVID during the Fed meeting today. Speaking of unemployment numbers, fed everyone a wad of BS about numbers, claiming only a few million are out of the workforce due to long COVID. We are effed. The market bought it hook, line, and sinker. Basically, it's not a big deal and things are getting better. Tell me how the government is coming to help us. And as usual of late, very few engagements or retweets. It's like talking to an empty room. And that Powell said, like, oh, there's no big deal, but he's addressing it. So how many people are really out of the workforce? If it's even a million, it's a huge effect. This is Ezra Levant writes, so if I'm understanding this right, the reason we had no flu cases this past year is because the PCR test used by governments around the world, across the world, couldn't tell the difference between COVID-19 and the flu. So they called it all COVID-19. Am I reading that right? I think you might be. 2 sudden deaths of students at Western University. That's Tim Truth. You can check him out on BitChute. This is all-knowing Tony Fauci's memory suddenly vanishes when he has to testify. Fauci is omniscient except during depositions. This is Whitney Webb. She writes, CIA may be more useful than the CDC in the next epidemic. She's responding to that. She's talking about ex-FDA committee. He wrote, this drivel is on the board of a CIA-linked company that is poised to play a major role in any post-COVID biosecurity crisis, whether manufactured or real. This is Peter Halligan. More analysis of Pfizer clinical trial data shows that the FDA knew in advance that the mRNA increased severe adverse events and deaths. Well worth a read. This is by Karen Kingston. The title of her article is Intended Consequences. mRNA vaccines were designed to cause severe disease and be resistant to antibodies. This scientific evidence confirms that the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines do not produce antibodies and are resistant to the antibodies for SARS-CoV-2. So it's all just a waste. This is Mary Beth Pfeiffer. Title of it is The Missing Babies of Europe. 9 months after mass vaccination, 110,000 fewer babies are born. In the U.S., birth data is scarce, and few mention the F word, fertility. Massive decline in births. This is Kyle Becker, November 29th. Note now that Twitter ended COVID misinformation policies. Let's review the experts' trademark misinformation. 15 days to slow the spread. Masks work. Lockdowns work. Natural immunity is a myth. mRNA shots are vaccines. COVID shots stop transmission. 100% safe and effective. All lies. All lies. Incredible. This is Robert F. Kennedy. During 7 hours of questioning under oath, asking if he colluded with social media companies to censor COVID-related content, Fauci said he had no clear memory of details that would shed light on his involvement in speech suppression. Wow. Can we talk about it? Claudia, after receiving her first Pfizer shot in October 2021, she suffered from paresthesia, vertigo, and more. Claudia continues her journey to recovery. This is a sickening photo from the New York Times of a 8-month-old receiving a COVID vaccine. in Hatfield, Pennsylvania, June 2022. It's sick. Sick. Jab injuries, Australia. This is another guy, and these people are all hanging out with each other. They've all been paralyzed or sickened. This is like some kind of garbage study that says COVID-19 vaccines and the misinterpretation of perceived side effects, clarity on the safety of vaccines. They basically ascribe people's injuries to mental illness. And that's like more of the gaslighting. This is Mary Beth Pfeiffer again. Deep in the wombs of women, the hidden harm of COVID vaccines. Where's my cycle is the rallying cry of a group of French women fighting for basic expectations of life, pain-free existence, medical system they can trust, and the ability to bear children. You know, some of you might have been completely sterilized. They're changing all the data. The foreign data was gutted this week in VAERS, and the cancer signal was halved. The myocarditis dose 3 response signal was lost. In 994 spontaneous abortions, stillbirths were dropped for starters. That's Jessica Rose. I think I mentioned that one before. This is just more gaslighting. Climate change is worsening headaches and other neurological diseases from November 17th, 2022. It's incredible. This is going to last. Get better protection during pregnancy with the booster. This is just like they live. It's just so sinister and evil. It's off the charts. Updated COVID-19 vaccine is safe and easy. Well, I got to run. That's the 19. I'll finish up this tomorrow. Thanks for listening.